In partnership with the Curtis Institute of Music, WHYY presents the following program.
My name's Nick DiBerardino. I didn't always know I was going to be a composer. I came to composition in an atypical way. I was self-taught my whole life until I got to college. I wrote music just for myself to play on the piano. The very first piece I ever wrote for anyone else was an orchestra piece, actually. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I didn't know that. So I did it anyway, and that sort of launched my passion for writing for, classically trained musicians.
This is one of my favorite things. This this is like a graph. One of my first teachers. He talks about how in the early, French Impressionist period, think of Debussy or something, that there's this other approach that kind of flips those, where you can think about writing music scale first.
There was a moment when I was studying where I had a teacher there say to me, hey, this piece you wrote, this is approaching the level I expect of our doctoral students, and I'm just wondering, are you thinking of being a composer? So that moment where the teacher said, hey, you're kind of good at this, was the moment that I really started thinking about it seriously.
This is my graduate recital.
Madison Avenue is a piece that I wrote for a clarinetist. And so when I wrote the piece, I had this image in my mind. I imagined people just furiously typing on typewriters. I was kind of thinking back to 1960s sort of New York and trying to capture some of that hustle and bustle. So the piano part is very active, and I like to think of that as, could be somebody typing away. And then just overall, I was trying to capture a sense of exuberance and playfulness. With Pinions of Immense Desire is a piece I wrote for trumpet and piano. And that title comes from Dante. And in Dante, the full quote is something like, "With pinions of immense desire I flew." And the idea in the poem is that the speaker is trying to fly up towards heaven, or like scale the mountain of Mount Purgatory towards heaven. The music in the piece actually kind of directly tries to encode some of this imagery. Throughout the piece, there's a sense of rising in the piano part, and it never stops, actually, all throughout the piece. It keeps rising and rising and rising, and I was trying to capture this sense of yearning, and also the sense that we never quite get where we want to go. So each time this figure repeats, it's trying maybe to repeat it an octave, but it never quite gets there. And so the whole piece, there's this sense of striving and reaching. And at the very end, it does arrive back where it began, but maybe that's not where it was trying to go. So the poem that inspired the percussion quartet is a poem about a spider. And the image that Whitman presents is an image of a spider throwing gossamer thread, throwing web out into the darkness, looking for an anchor with which to build. And so the metaphor that Whitman presents is that the spider is like our souls, which also fling gossamer thread, looking for anchors. Gossamer is a piece for percussion quartet, and it's mostly a mallet quartet, so it's 2 vibraphones and 2 glockenspiels. There's also ceramic bowls.
Thank you for being here.
So Sweet Talk is this program that Zach Mowitz and I designed, essentially an interactive recital.
My name's Nick DiBerardino. This is Zachary Mowitz. And today we're going to be presenting a little program for you guys called Sweet Talk.
I had written this piece for Zach. He had also commissioned a piece from his dad, Ira Mowitz. And so he had these two new cello works, and he wanted to design a program where those two works could be the centerpiece of a discussion about the cello as a solo instrument, and kind of how it had evolved through time.
So let's go back to Bologna, Italy, 1680 or so. That's when the cello, as we know it, first came on the scene. There was a whole bunch of...
When I was younger, I was very interested in doing work that would allow me to share my passion for music with other people. In high school, I founded an organization that collected used instruments from around our town, and we had a local music store partner with us and refurbish all the instruments, and we donated them all to a school in Bridgeport, Connecticut that was interested in them and wanted to start an arts program. And when we went to donate those instruments, the principal said, "Hey, why don't you come teach the kids how to play these every week?" Which I did for 3 years, and I really found it to be work that meant a lot to me.
We talk a little bit about one of the ways that Bach influenced my piece. So what you heard of my piece is the fourth and fifth movements, actually. And the very first thing Zach played is the fourth movement of my piece. And maybe before I talk about it, maybe you could just play the first little section, just so we can remember what it sounds like.
Sure.
It felt like a core part of my mission. Even in my music, I want to reach people, I want to communicate.
Which came first? Did you hear Zach and his ability to make that happen and say, "Oh, I had this great idea for the oracles, two voices, and that guy would be great"? Or did you say, "Hey, can you do this"? I mean, did you hear him playing his father's piece or something like it and see that skill?
It's a great question.
That's a really difficult thing to do.
I could imagine it having been either one. In this case, it was the second thing. I kind of had this idea, and I said, "Hey, Zach, do you think this?"
I want to reach people, I want to communicate, I want to spread my own sense of passion and joy.
Well, it's funny, it was kind of my dad.
Rising up a whole step. That's actually similar to earlier on when we were talking about that.